to do a sort of full Bundesliga preview of this season's campaign. With the fact that the Bundesliga will be kicking off tomorrow, we're all excited for it. We got a good game also tomorrow, and we got the defending champions taking on the annual edition of the defending champions playing the first game of the Bundesliga season. And they'll be taking on Gladbach team this time around. And yeah, it's great to see the Bundesliga back. And in my opinion, I think this will be one of the more what's the way to put it? One of the more fascinating coming down to the wire sort of season. Spoiler alert: I don't quite think that that they'll be able. Leverkusen will go unbeaten again. I don't see that happening. No, I mean, no, I mean that's just a remarkably difficult thing to do. Go unbeaten in two campaigns in a row. But I don't see Leverkusen having a big drop off in the fact that they were able to retain many of their important pieces. Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, the biggest one of all, their manager, Xabi Alonso, their manager that got them playing the sort of way that they've been playing right now. You see Florian Wirtz, he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder at the European Championship. He had a pretty decent European Championship, but he got benched throughout the European Championship by Julian Nagelsmann. He got benched throughout the European Championship. A lot of the talk was about Jamal Musiala. Despite opening into the tournament, it was about both Musiala and Wirtz. But that kind of, Wirtz had a pretty decent tournament too. But Musiala, he was just stupendous, special. And it was expected because, this is now Jamal Musiala. That was his third major international tournament, believe it or not. He had the European Championship in 2020 or 21, to be honest, in which he didn't play much, but he was in and around the squad. Then he had that World Cup 2022 where he was part of the 11, and then now this is his third international tournament being involved in the German setup. So it was about time. It was getting to the time where Musiala was taking that next step in his international career, and Wirtz will take that step really soon. And Wirtz has some real quality, and he's gonna prove that this season. I still believe he's a great player. And again, I think Leverkusen, they're still gonna be a very good team, and an extremely good team because of the fact that they were able to retain Xabi Alonso. That's a huge addition for them. Being able to not addition, but a huge retention for them. Being able to essentially run it back. Teams like Leverkusen usually, they'd be forced to sell off everything. They would get bullied by Bayern. They would get bullied by this. They would get bullied by that. Leverkusen, Stanisic had to return back to Bayern Munich on loan, but didn't lose much of their key players. Now, preseason-wise, they haven't had the best preseason, specifically talking about that 4-0 loss to Arsenal. But again, it's preseason. They are able to start off the Super Cup, their season with the Super Cup victory over Stuttgart in penalties. And it was an interesting game. They were, dominated in terms of possession, but created similar amount of chances as them. It took late goal from Patrick Schick to get them into extra time. Or I don't know if we went to extra time, but straight to penalties against Stuttgart. But in Stuttgart, they eventually came through. And by the way, this was a makeshift team for Leverkusen. They didn't play Grimaldo, Frimpong, Florian Wirtz, Jonathan Tah. A lot of key players for them. They didn't play. So I'm saying Leverkusen. I don't think they're gonna fall down. I still think they'll be a factor, or a big factor, in my opinion, the favorites to win the Bundesliga. There's also the respect that you need to have on Bayern Munich. They still have overall the most talented squad in the league. especially with the likes of being able to add a player like Michael Olise that has real technical ability, real quality. The biggest unknown with them is, number one, last year they were inconsistent. My two biggest unknowns with them is what has always been an unknown for them over the past few years now. Okay, let's start off actually. The biggest unknown with them is Vincent Kompany, who doesn't have much experience coaching at this level, expecting this sort of domination week in, week out. What he did at Burnley in League 2, yes, but this is top flight football. This is Bayern Munich. This is heavy egos. This is players getting paid a lot of money and some of the best players in the world, and it's hard balancing that and the expectation managing a club like that. Can Vincent Kompany, can he handle the pressure of managing a club like Bayern Munich? And then also another big issue is there's been their big issue for a long time now is the center back partnership. Their center back partnerships over the past few years has been woeful. Despite the amount of money that they've invested in the center half position, they have not got it right. They have not found a solid center back partnership that they can go in, game out. You see Upamecano and De Ligt. You see De Ligt and King Min-jae. You see De Ligt and Upamecano. You see Eric Dyer now even coming in. Eric Dyer coming in on loan and being the best center half at the club. Now they sold off De Ligt and they have Upamecano there. They signed the Japanese center half. His name is escaping my mind right now. They might think he might be the answer. Hiroki Ito, they're able to sign him. So it's interesting. It's confusing how they have not been able to get the center back partnership straight, and the fact that they've invested so much money. But maybe bringing in a guy like Vincent Kompany, who played center half, who was a brilliant center half in his career, maybe he can sort of do the tinkering to get that partnership set. But, who knows? That's my two biggest concerns with Bayern Munich. I think attacking-wise, they have huge quality now, huge technical ability with a guy like Michael Olise coming in. With Sane, what he can do, what he is and what he isn't. Kingsley Coman, the pace, the verticality. Serge Gnabry still involved. Harry Kane, obviously, being the striker. But again, there's deficiency. Now, I think João Palhinha coming in is a guy that can sort of help control the midfield and keep the engine steady out of Bayern Munich, and I think that's also going to be a good addition as well. But did they do enough to bridge the gap with Leverkusen, and are they able to go as high enough as Leverkusen is dropping at the same time? Because Leverkusen was here and Bayern were here. Bayern were here, Leverkusen was here. And there's I don't even know, can you see that right there, what I'm doing? Okay, let's see. Leverkusen is here and Bayern is here. Bayern, they did enough to add. I don't think they've done enough to get to Leverkusen's level, what the word Leverkusen last season. But did Leverkusen drop enough to where, Bayern has done enough to beat what Leverkusen is this season? We don't know. That remains to be seen. I still favor Leverkusen. I don't think there's a huge drop-off there, even though I do think Bayern is a little bit better than what they were last season. But again, we have, it's an unknown with their managerial issue. And then you got the likes of, I think Leipzig will finish third. By the way, that's my first two. I think Leipzig will finish third because I think what Leipzig has been able to do, they're on a steady progression now. They were able to retain a guy like Xavi Simons, which I think will be a big addition for them. And yeah, I think they'll finish third. And I think they have an outside shot to really battle in there as well. Not for the title, but maybe even for the title, because who knows? I'm not really certain on Bayern Munich right now. And then you have, probably I'll go with Borussia Dortmund slightly over Stuttgart. Now, Stuttgart, they had a brilliant season last season, but I just think Dortmund will just have enough quality just to get it in there. I think that there'll be, that Leipzig will be comfortably ahead of Dortmund, though. Comfortably ahead of Dortmund and Stuttgart and that. So that will probably be my top four. I think goal scorer of the year will be Harry Kane again, as expected. I think a player of the season, it really depends on who wins the title, of course. And if Bayern Leverkusen wins the title, I think player of the season will go to Granit Xhaka. I think Granit Xhaka will get the adulation that he really deserves this season, because I think he's a really good player and has been a big part of what Leverkusen has been able to do. Now, if Bayern is able to win player of the Bundesliga, I'll probably go. I'd probably say, ooh, I think it'd be Kane just because of the goals that he scored. Yeah, I think it'll be hard not to give it to Kane just because of the sheer amount of goals that will be required for them to win Bundesliga, and he's gonna be a big part of that. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kane. But yeah, guys, that's my Bundesliga preview.